Welcome to Chapter 18, Accessibility. In recent years, accessibility is becoming more and more in terms of different questions on relevance or paper. It's not really a given question itself, but it does come up under different headings such as lifetime use, sustainable design, passive design, and future intended use. Okay? So it is important that we understand exactly where this is, and there's technical specifications according to this. It's not just these random made up numbers, okay? So what we're going to have to do is we're going to look into what makes up accessibility, what is accessibility, and it's also now being known as lifetime use. Designing for lifetime use is to design for access for all people over a lifetime. This means you are designing for you buying your house or building your house now in your 20s or 30s, but also for when you're going to be 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, or whatever age you end up living to. It's designed for a lifetime. That means you should also take into consideration what happens if something happens to you. Are you going to be able to walk? Are you going to be in a wheelchair? What may happen in the future? Will you still, if you're in your old age, be able to get up and down the likes of stairs? Is there a plan in place for this? Buildings should be accessible to people. That means to all people. Wheelchairs, crutches, anything. It does not mean your typical or your neurotypical people. It should be accessible to all. And specific building regulations, controls and suggestions are provided for various areas of buildings. So they are, for private dwellings there are suggestions, but for public buildings they are mandatory. Here's a technical guide document M. Most of the technical guide documents for building regulations come with a letter. So this deals with accessibility for people with those with disabilities and provides minimum accessibility specifications. Again, these are minimums. Now, that also means building for everyone. Guidelines from the National Disability Authority provides guidelines on a range of accessibility issues, including built environment. That also talks about the likes of ramps, stairs, lifts, bathrooms, kitchens, doors, everything. So over the next 6 slides, we're going to look into some of those specific areas. And these are the specific areas that do come up on the Leaving Cert exams. And they are often asked in terms of renovations, redesigning, and making your houses fit one lifetime. So your main entrance. Your main entrance is how anyone accesses a building. And this one, for example, we're going to just talk about a house. Your minimum opening to that entrance should be 800 millimeters wide. Okay, you should also have a level maneuvering area of 1200 by 1200 millimeters. So that's 1.2 millimeters in a circle. These are for those who are in a wheelchair. The minimum opening is there to allow wheelchairs to enter the building. Same thing with the turning circle. So level maneuvering area is also known as a turning circle. These have to be kept clear in front of the building so that if you go up to the door and you don't want to enter anymore, you have space to turn around. It also allows those in the likes of crutches and stuff to be able to enter the building. Same thing with a maximum threshold height of 15 millimeters. Your threshold is generally that piece of rubber directly underneath your door at your front door or any door leading to an external part of the house. That threshold is at 15 millimeters. Any higher and it makes it a hindrance for those in wheelchairs or the likes to enter. It also creates a tripping hazard. You also have a minimum headroom on approach of 2.1 meters. This is so that those who are tall or blind will not walk into the likes of tree branches, leaves or anything else. It also means they can't hit their heads. So the doorway going into the building itself is also at 2.1 meters. The minimum width of the access route is at 900 millimeters. So the doorway coming into the building is at 800, but the actual pathway is at 900 millimeters. And please notice, these are minimums. So 2.1 meter is a minimum, 900 is a minimum, 800 is a minimum. The only maximum you will ever have when you're talking about accessibility realistically is going to be that threshold height. So it's important to understand the image we're looking at and these figures, where they're coming into reality. Again, generally speaking, this is for those with a disability. So those who are in wheelchairs, those who have crutches, or anything else. It also makes sense for those who are also parenting with the likes of a buggy or pram. You don't want high thresholds, you want turning circles, you want to provide access into your home for lifetime use. Approach to buildings. Generally they must be flat or have a gentle slope. We do not want a massive steep slope. They also have to be 900 millimeters wide. They also have a minimum curb of 100 millimeters, so they have to have a curb height on them. Minimum headroom of 2.1, so that's how high the door can be. Ramps, landings every 700 millimeters or 7 meters. Okay. We also need landings with a turning circle. Okay. We also have steps, 100 to 150 rise, and handrails, maximum 900 millimeters apart. Flight steps, maximum rise of 1800 millimeters. These are all to ensure people can get ease of access to your building. And also you have, see there, 1.8 millimeters maximum between landings. Again, that is for those who are less capable of walking. It's really important that we take these precautions into place, especially for lifetime use. You can also see by the reading of the actual information on the diagram there, where the handrail is not continuous, it should extend at least 300 millimeters beyond the top and the bottom riser and terminate in a closed end, which does not project into the route of travel. Handrails should terminate in such a way that reduces the risk of clothing being caught, and see the diagram. They should end in such a way that your clothes can't get caught in it. They should also go past the end and the beginning of each step. This is to ensure you can have your hand on the stairs before even stepping foot on one of the steps. You can also see there you have your actual handrail is roughly 900 to 1000 millimeters above the pitch line. This is because that's the average height one person's hand is sitting at. It should also be a shallow pitch. Each step should have a shallow pitch to it. And again, making sure there is landings there where appropriate. Same thing if it's a ramp, you should have a landing every 7 meters. Your ramp should not be too steep. You also have the internal layout of buildings. And again, this is very important that we look into this. Anywhere inside the building, we're going to have minimums of our internal door sizes, and we're also going to have the likes of how our doors open and the sizes of our corridors. The minimum width of a corridor has to remain at 900 millimeters. Again, this is to allow those with crutches, wheelchairs, or walking difficulties to pass by. Radiators and permanent fixtures must not make corridor less than 800 millimeters wide. That means if there is a radiator or anything that's there permanently, has to be less than 100 millimeters. Otherwise, the corridor has to be wider. Radiators and permanent fixtures must not be opposite doorways. This will allow people to have that extra bit of turning space to get in and out of doorways. You can see that is highlighted in the yellow box below. Door openings, minimum clearance of 400 millimeters on either side of the door opening. So that means when you come into the door, you have 400 millimeters on either side of it. Your door saddle, which is the piece that goes across the base of your door. Most modern houses don't have it, they have continuous floors, but a lot of old houses do have it. That is the piece of timber that goes across the actual base of the door, separating room from room. That has to be a maximum height of 10 millimeters, again to allow ease of access throughout the house or building. Your door handles should be roughly 900 millimeters off the ground. That is the optimum position because that's how high general people, when they're sitting, can access it, and it's most people's average height as well. Now, when we're getting into the kitchen, we have a few more things we have to consider. We have to make sure we have a non-slip floor. We don't want people slipping. So the floor is non-slip. What we also allow is a turning circle of 1500 millimeters. That's the minimum. What's optimum is about 1800. And you can see there, that turning circle in the image is correctly located near the sink, the cooker and the fridge. You want people to be able to access the ability to cook, to fend for themselves. It also provides nice space. Worktops and sinks should be a maximum height of 800 millimeters but the optimum is about 700. Sockets are also an accessible height. Should also be in and around that mark, and we'll look into sockets later on. You also have a cooker to sink, maximum distance of 1800 millimeters. You do not want to be traveling a great distance, and this goes for everyone between your sink and your cooker, especially if you have pots of water. Generally speaking, a round or oval table is the most suitable for those for general accessibility, as there is no sharp corners. Most traditional houses will have a rectangular table or a square table, but generally speaking, a round or oval table is optimal. Again, the table should be at 700 millimeters high. Your bathroom then is also a place that needs careful care and attention. You need mounted floors, you need turning circles. Wash hand basin is also a necessity that needs to be fixed to the wall. It should not be on a pedestal. That means where your tap is for your bathroom, for your sink, they need to be attached to the wall. Lever taps rather than screw taps, making sure that there's levers instead of the screws. Your toilet should also be 750 by 150 millimeters of space beside it. That is to allow those with a wheelchair to go along with the wheelchair beside them and get out of the wheelchair and get to the toilet. For that reason, you also need to have grab rails. You need to have a grab rail 400 millimeters from the toilet. You can see there in the images where the grab rails are. And you also need a grab rail, generally speaking, at the height of 700 to 600 millimeters. Okay? It needs to be a long handrail. In this case, it says 600 millimeters length of a handrail. That's generally a fold-up handrail that goes beside the bathroom. You'll notice that there's two handrails for this reason. What you also have there is a level entry into the shower with a shower seat provided. Okay? That level entry is becoming more and more common in all buildings, or modern buildings. You're getting less and less entryways into the showers. What you also there have is, you notice you have a shower seat for someone to sit on, and you also have a number of different handrails in the showers. This is to help if someone does slip and fall, there's a grab rail for them to grab. Same thing, there's an adjustable height shower head. This is for both those who have to sit and those who are for tall people who may have to increase the height of it. Same thing, we have the likes of switches and sockets. These also must be considered. Your main entranceway, your doorbell, your intercom, any of these should be between 900 and 1200 millimeters high. Sockets at the height of 400 to 1200 from the floor. Anything below 400 millimeters is considered too low. Anything above 1.2 meters is considered too high. The optimal range for most appliances, like the switches, is around 900 to the 1200 mark. So the likes of your doorbells, your intercoms, your light switches, any of this kind of stuff should be between the 1200 and the 900 mark. So that there is the basis of what this looks like. There's exam questions regarding this relating to lifetime use and how do you upgrade it. Generally speaking, what I've seen from past experiences, they talk about the bathroom, they talk about the kitchen, and they talk about the approach, the main entrance of the building. These are the main areas you're going to have to look into when you're revising over accessibility. They're the areas you're going to have to really focus on. Again, this comes up in parts of questions, doesn't come up as an entire question, but more so as a part of a question, and it has come up numerous times over the years. So please take care and look into it.